Good evening. It's loud. Welcome to the April 15th meeting of the Stillwater City Council. I will call this meeting to order and ask that you stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for being here. We're going to start the meeting off tonight with a proclamation. And I think we have some representatives from Wings of Hope here to join us for that. I'll read it from up here, and then I'll let you all say a few words if you'd like. Perfect. Excellent. Whereas sexual violence is a devastating and intolerable crime affecting men, women, and children of all races, ages, cultures, economic situations, and abilities. And whereas sexual violence is a major social problem in homes, schools, and communities across the country, resulting in countless physical, mental, and other health consequences. And whereas sexual violence seriously affects our youth and is reported that 1 out of every 4 girls and 1 out of every 6 boys experience a sexual assault before the age of 18. And whereas it is also reported that 1 in 5 women and 1 in 16 men are sexually assaulted on college campuses. And whereas the month of April has been designated to promote awareness by increasing education and community involvement to prevent acts of sexual violence. Now, therefore, I, William Joyce, Mayor of the City of Stillwater, do hereby proclaim the month of April 2019 in the City of Stillwater as Sexual Assault Awareness Month. Thank you. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you for the work that you do on this front in our community. Please, if you'd like to say a few words.
Yes, Marie Abraham Robinson, Executive Director of Wings of Hope, and Lauren Nahara is our sexual assault counselor. And we just are very thankful to the City of Stillwater, to you, Mr. Mayor, and to our City Council members for acknowledging that April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month. And of course, we are so happy and pleased that we get to do this work. On behalf of the Wings of Hope Board and staff, we thank you for the proclamation, and we speak on behalf of victims who don't have a voice or who don't feel that they can admit that they are victims. We are proud to stand in the gap for them and to be representatives, so we thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bring this down to you if you guys would like to take a picture.
Yes, please.
Yes.
You got it, Megan?
You guys in it?
I meant to.
I have no idea.
Yes.
All right. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Thank you all. Okay, that takes us down to item 4 on the consent docket. Counselors, might there be any items on the consent docket that you'd like to remove? Who'd like to start?
I see Amy out there, and I'm going to remove item E, History Museum and the Shirari Report.
Okay.
I'd like to remove, item D, please.
And I would like to remove item H.
Item D, E, and H will be removed from the consent docket. Anything further?
I would like to remove no items, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Wedlick. How about another motion?
Motion to accept the consent, approve the consent docket minus items D, E, and H.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent docket minus those items. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, the consent docket is approved, except for those items. That takes us to number 5, public comment on agenda items not scheduled for public hearing. I don't think we have anybody signed up for that. We've got a couple signed up for actual public hearing items. If you do want to speak at a public hearing or on other agenda items, you do need to sign up. So if you haven't got a chance, go grab one of those real quick. But that will move us down to item 6, items removed from the consent docket. We will start with item D, Counselor Jaloski.
Yes, I just wanted to, I'm so loud today.
I
This
know,
is
it's a hot mic.
amazing. I just wanted to take a moment to recognize the work of our staff on getting started on the Strickland Park playground renovations. I know we've talked about it before, but the plans are to create an inclusive and adaptive park at Strickland Park so that children of all ages and abilities can play there. It's really turned into a beautiful project over the course of this year with the city and the CDBG grant paying for phase 1. And then the students at Stillwater High School through the Stillwater Makes a Change organization at the high school fundraising for phase 2. So they've had an amazing and exciting year. It's been such a special thing to be a part of with my involvement. I'm not only here with the city, but also with Maya's Promise. And I'm excited to see that we're ready to make a purchase of equipment and this synthetic turf that will be accessible for everybody there. So we're really excited.
Excellent. I think there are still some SMAC events happening too.
There are. I think we've got a Princess Day Out that's coming up, and the SMAC Color Run is May 4th. So still some opportunities to contribute and be a part of this community building project.
You could just mail a check.
Or you could just mail check. I know we would do that. We take that too. I know the kids would be excited to get
They
a
would
check.
love that. They're doing fantastic work at the SMAC program. Should we vote on that one, or can we do them all together? All right.
So do we just need to move to approve item D on the consent docket?
Sounds like a motion to me.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve item D. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, item D is approved. Item E, the History Museum at the Sherrar Annual Report. Councilor Zanotti.
Yes. Thank you to Amy and to Stephen Gose for providing this. It's hard to believe we're into the first quarter of 2019, but this museum has been busy. And I just wanted to highlight a couple of things just because I think it's important that we understand all the things that are going into making this a desirable place for people to visit and for families to spend time in. So just wanted to highlight that they had some new exhibits this first quarter, automobiles in Stillwater, that was inspired by one member of the Stillwater Antique and Classic Car Club. And also they had a second exhibit called Still Pioneering. It tells the story of post-World War II business development in Stillwater. And during spring break, they had a free children's drop-in where they had an activity that was by the Opera House model on display inside the museum and brought multiple families into the museum over spring break. And because that's been so popular, in April, they're going to do some partnering with the Wondatorium to do some things about how Oklahoma began, which I think is important with our state of Oklahoma. And then also they're going to be doing an I Spy program that will kick off the second Saturday in April from 1 to 4 p.m. And the new I Spy will complement our updated Main Street exhibit and its first in several planned experiences beyond the museum's walls. So thank you to Amy for doing these things for the Art Museum, and thank you to Stephen Gose and the board for their support. So just wanted to do a shout out.
Thank you. Do you have a motion?
I move to accept item E on the consent docket.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to accept item E. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, that item is approved. That takes us down to item H. Vice Mayor Darlington.
Right, this is the item that is approving the contract for another school resource officer. And this is a project that is a collaboration between Stillwater Public Schools and the City of Stillwater. And we already have 3 SROs or school resource officers. And this will bring a 4th, which allows much more coverage of our school systems. And it's always nice when we can do something together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's great that the schools were able to secure some grant funding.
That is especially nice.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
to help offset the cost there. I know that the SROs that we have in place have been doing fantastic work at the public schools, and we're happy to be able to supplement that service.
Yes. Motion to approve item H, contract for the school resource officer service.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve item H. Please vote. Who didn't vote?
That would be me.
There it is. With a vote of 5-0, item H is approved. Okay, that takes us to item 7, public hearings. We will start with 7A, receive public comment regarding a request for a specific use permit for a medical marijuana dispensary at 115 South Main Street in the Commercial Business Zoning District. This is CC-19-42. Mr. Dorman, did we have good notice on this item?
Yes, sir.
Mr. McNichol?
Paula Dennison, Assistant City Manager, Development Services will provide that.
Good evening. This is once again a specific use permit for a medical marijuana dispensary. The property is located at 115 South Main Street. It's a little hard to see because the lot's so small, but it is the area in the hatched with the arrow pointing to it. And this is directly on Main Street in the Commercial General Zoning District. There's a front view of the property, and the signage, the parking, everything they're able to accommodate on site. I can answer any questions that you may have.
Councilors? Thank you, Paula.
Yes?
At this time, I'll open the public hearing, and I will close it back up again because there's no one signed up to speak on this item, and I'll ask you, Paula, for the Planning Commission recommendation.
Thank you. The Planning Commission does recommend approval with a 5-0 vote.
Thank you, Paula. Councilors, questions, comments, or motions?
Motion to approve the specific use permit for a medical marijuana dispensary at 115 South Main Street.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve item A. Please vote. With a vote of 3-2, that item passes. That takes us to 7B, receive public comment regarding the closeout of the 17036 Community Development Block Grant. This is CC-19-44. Mr. Dorman, did we have good notice on this item?
Yes, sir.
Mr. McNichol.
Well, it appears that Christy Clark will be providing that report.
Yes.
How about Christy?
Melissa well, we'll get to that in a little bit.
Good evening.
Hello.
So staff is seeking authorization to close out the 2017 Community Development Block Grant. So this block grant was used to fund the construction of the skate park. And that skate park is located at Strickland Park at 313 West Main. The project also included the addition of benches, bleachers, a water fountain, and some landscaping in the area. The total project budget was $242,254, with $121,127 of that being funded by the grant. The remaining balance was funded with city funds, and it was fully expended. The budget was fully expended in the completion of the project. The skate park's now open. Citizens are enjoying it, and we have had the ribbon cutting on March 30th, and I am so sorry I did not progress this slide.
We all know what you're talking about.
Yes.
All right, thank you. I will open this public hearing now and close it again as we don't have anyone signed up to speak on that item. And I guess you have staff recommendation?
Yes. So staff's recommendation is to approve the completed Strickland Park skate park project and authorize the signing of the grant closeout documents.
Thank you, Christy. Councilors, comments, questions, or motions?
Motion to approve staff recommendation to close out the CDBG for 2017.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve item B. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, that's approved. Thank you all to staff and everyone who's worked on that grant, that project. It's been very busy already, so it's a great project for the community. That takes us to 7C, receive public comment regarding the selection of a project for the 2019 Community Development Block Grant. This is CC-19-45. Mr. Dorman, did we have good notice?
Yes, sir.
Christy, what would you like to tell us about this one?
So Monty Carnes and I are actually going to tag team on this presentation. But staff is seeking council's selection of an upcoming project for the 2019 Community Development Block Grant. So the CDBG grant program is funded through the Oklahoma Department of Commerce and is a federal HUD program. The primary objective of the program, according to HUD, is the development of viable urban communities by providing decent housing and a suitable living environment, particularly for persons of low and moderate income. So as a requirement of the grant, public meetings were held. One was held on February 21st and the other on March 4th. And that was to gather public input on suggestions for a project to be funded by this grant. Project suggestions included sidewalks along Western from 6th Avenue up to the OSU campus, repairs to streets in areas across the city, also the reinstatement of the down payment assistance program for low-income home purchases, the use of vacated areas across town that have existing infrastructure to construct low-income housing and offer lease purchase options to home buyers throughout the city. Also suggested was waiving building fees for Habitat for Humanity building projects. Also suggested was the stormwater drainage improvements at 12th and Duncan, and then stormwater drainage improvements on Ridge Street between Admiral and Sherwood. So after evaluation by staff, the projects determined to be grant eligible, and also those that could be completed within the timeframes of the grant included the 2 drainage projects, so the one at 12th and Duncan, and then the drainage project on Ridge Street. And so I'm going to turn it over to Monty Carnes now to give a description of those projects.
Thank you.
Good evening. Monty Carnes, Director of City Engineering. So we've got a little presentation here, starting off with the stormwater drainage at 12th and Duncan. The project would start, this is the library, would be just east of Duck, start on the south side of 12th at the low point, construct a 6-foot by 4-foot reinforced concrete box across the street along the north side up to Duncan Street, and then intercept the water there. The drainage coming down Duncan starts about the Presbyterian Church. Presbyterian Church is the dividing line, and then comes to the south. There's quite a bit of flow in Duncan Street. This project was originally identified in the 1968 Master Drainage Plan, and it was pretty high in the second tier of priorities. They got through the first tier, but that was about it. There are 3 homes on Duncan Street just to the south that are impacted by the water. One right here on the corner, the first one on the corner, I'm having trouble seeing that. The first one just south of 12th, the west side, has water accumulates underneath the house. The second house sits further back to the west. It almost gets water in it back in 2017 when we had those heavy rains. And then the next to the house south, next house south did have water. The issue is there's not enough crown in 12th Street. So the crown was lowered so 12th Street could carry the water down to the low spot. So the water's rushing down Duncan, jumps the crown on 12th, keeps going down Duncan to the south, and then migrates back to the west. That's why we need to intercept the water. The main issue is also that low spot has a tendency to flood cars out. You'll notice there's a big guardrail over there, so if somebody does start floating, at least you got some chance of catching the vehicle before it goes on downstream. That helps, but I'd rather see us get rid of the hazard. About 10 years ago, there was a CDB grant that upgraded that channel to the south about 2 blocks. Any questions on that part of that project? You can see the cost there. We estimate the project cost to be about $400,000. CDBG grant would pick up about $83,500, maybe more. The remainder we'd take out of the half-cent sales tax for streets, since this is primarily a street project. And not that the flooding is incidental, but it's the problem with the street that causes the flooding to the south.
Thank you, Monty.
Okay. Next project is the drainage channel. It's actually Duck Creek several years ago. That channel was improved from about just south of Sherwood. Sorry, I think that's no, it's not Sunset, whatever the next street is, I'm sorry. We didn't get that labeled. But then going south through up to the park, not Strickland Park, up to the park, there was an assessment district that the city and the adjacent property owners participated in. You can see what that channel looks like to the south. Concrete line channel with vertical sides. It's easy to maintain that channel. But again, that was an assessment district with the property owners and the city contributing to the cost of that. I believe the city paid something like 75% or so of the cost. Of course, we own the street on one side and the other drainage, but that was the funding split back then.
Monty,
Yes.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but
Yes.
is this project for in between Admiral and Sherwood, or
Yes.
Sherwood and Arrowhead?
Yes. Admiral, it should go from Admiral, no, excuse me, it should go just a half a block north of Sherwood, south to the existing channel.
To Arrowhead, okay. Thanks.
Uh-huh.
On the budget, Monty, in the report, we're showing a total CDBG grant fund of $83,500.
That's correct, of which we've got to match at least 100%.
Yeah, but both of the budgets you have for those projects show $83,000 being contributed by CDBG.
Yes.
How can they
Am
both?
I missing something there? I'm sorry.
Well,
Because there's the match.
oh, so you're counting
He's
what we're
counting the
contributing
match.
and what they're contributing?
Correct.
Okay,
Correct. Correct.
thank you.
So on the rich drainage channel, we think that the project cost, including the engineering, is $335,000. 83,500 again is the grant. The remaining $251,500 would come from the general fund or the capital fund or some other source. If stormwater had the money, you could take it from stormwater, but we don't have the funds in the stormwater account to do this either.
And this is not considered a street
It's not a
project, so it
street
can't come out of the
project.
half
That's
cent.
correct.
Okay.
Any questions on that one?
Why two projects?
The public input process identified the two.
And we're choosing one or the other.
We're choosing one or the other.
That's correct.
I'm super lost right now, I'm sorry. Gotcha.
Any,
Questions or comments, counselors, that make sense, more sense than mine?
I'm sorry that I didn't explain it
No,
better,
I'm
but-
On
a little
the-
lost.
That's okay. On either of these projects, are the streets scheduled to be redone at the same time?
No.
Or are they scheduled to need to be redone at some
the-
point?
12th Street the portions that we tear up would be redone, but we don't have anything identified on 12th Street in our 5-year plan that you'll see next week, nor do we have anything in Ridge Road in the 5-year plan that you'll see next week.
That's my question, too.
Anything further? Thank you, Monty. At this point, I will open the public hearing, and we do have a speaker signed up to speak. So I will ask Patty Crowley to please come state your name and address at the podium and let us know your thoughts.
Pretty nervous. This is my first time. My name is Patty Crowley. I live at 1206 South Duncan. My husband and I are the second homeowners that Monty talked about with the flooding. We've been there since we moved. We're a Habitat for Humanity family, and we've been there since 2005. And I did have this last storm that we had. I did video it, and it got really bad. And what it does is come down Duncan, cross 12th, and halfway down the 1200 block. and it almost has come into our house. And my husband and I's main concern is, you know, will this drainage actually help? And we're thinking like the one over on 6th and Washington, something like that by Bank and A, something right there. Like I said, we are a Habitat for Humanity family. We're going to be there till, you know, pass away. So we're there. We don't want the water to come into our house, so, and it almost has. Yep. So that's our big concern.
Thank you.
Thanks
for being here. We have no one else signed up to speak on this item, so I'll close the public hearing and ask Monty or Christy or both of you to come give us staff recommendation.
We're recommending the 12th Avenue and Duncan as the project. We're not guaranteeing that people still won't flood. You've got Stillwater Creek, you've got a lot of other things, but at least we can handle the upstream water and get rid of the problem with the low point in the street. Will definitely help the people to the south.
And Monty, there's a time frame that the grant requires you to complete this project. And
that's correct.
Okay, so.
You know, typically we get them done in 12 to 18 months. If you select this one, we think we can get the engineers on board and getting working by the time, you know, be a long ways on the design by the time we actually are authorized to get the money. And the engineering is our cost. It's not eligible for the match. So we're not risking anything.
Thanks.
Thank you. Councilors, comments, questions, or motions?
I'll make a motion to approve staff recommendation for 12th and Duncan for the CDBG 2019.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the staff recommendation on this item. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, the staff recommendation is approved. All right, I'm gonna get back in the game here. I figure out what's going on. All right, we're at item D, receive public comment regarding proposed fiscal year 2020 operating budget for the city of Stillwater. This is CC-19-48. Mr. Dorman, did we have good notice on this item?
Yes, sir.
Mr. McNichol.
Normally, we would have Melissa Reams, our CFO, provide that report, but her third grandchild decided to make an appearance this afternoon about 5 o'clock in Oklahoma City. So, Mayor, if I may suggest to you that we presented this a few weeks ago. There have been no changes to the presentation that we made, and might I suggest that you open the public hearing?
Thank you, sir. I will do that. I will open public hearing on this budget item. We have one person signed up to speak, Mr. Roger Gose.
And I failed to tell you that our finance director, Christy Cluck, is here to answer any questions that might come up.
All right.
Thank you. Roger Gose, 1120 East Connell. Here to continue to stump for dollars for streets and alley maintenance. And thank you for the dollars that are being included in the capital projects, but I don't see sufficient funding for crack sealing, pothole patching, and concrete repairs. In 2000, when the half-cent sales tax was being presented, the city budget was $1.1 million for 1999 for street and alley. That included personnel and materials. That was up from $1 million in 85 to 86, but the value of the dollar was 40% less than 99, but the numbers were pretty much even. Today, 20 years after that, 1.13 million should be 1.7 million to just hold even with the $99. This is a 50.7% increase due to inflation. During this time, the city's changed its budget format, so it's hard for me now to go back and track how much street and alley money we have versus sewer and water. So I'm going to, seems like I'm getting off track, but I cannot figure it out. And Melissa's off, so, and I didn't have a chance to get with Christy. Can you imagine an accountant having a granddaughter on April 15th?
That was pretty inconvenient. But hey, that's more important than the budget even.
Oh, yeah, I agree. The transportation line of this year's budget has $542,780 from the general fund for expenses. And that's the best I can figure out of this. I haven't got to sit down with Norm on it.
Unfortunately, we were both in meetings, but if you look at the 74.5 that you talked to me about.
Right, that's under transportation fund.
Right, then go down to the bottom and over to the right a little bit, you'll see $8.some million.
To the right.
$8.9 million.
Yeah, that's right under it.
That is the current fund balance of transportation. And whatever is left in that that's not spent this year will be transferred up to that $74,000.
Okay.
$74,500 line. So I'm guessing that will be in excess of $4 million.
But how much of that is for potholes, crack sealing, those kind of things that you get the calls on?
Yeah, all of it. Any or all of it, whatever.
Slurry
is
sealing,
allocated
chip, micro sealing, all of that. One of my points is, though, even with the kind of money that I'm seeing on this budget, because operations now takes care of streets, sewer, water, those kind of maintenance things, and that's at $2.7 million. My math's coming up, we're still about $1.25 million short of trying to just stay up with inflation.
Yeah.
So I just hope you continue to look at it. Really appreciate the additional money that's gone into capital. Gives Monty something to do to keep up with y'all. But that's my plug. Any questions?
Thank you, Roger.
Thank you.
Roger, even though you're not always here to just be a cheerleader for us, we do appreciate the fact that you actually take your time to look into this stuff and bring these questions up, because it does require citizens like yourself to point things out to us from time to time. So we appreciate the effort you put into it.
Thank you.
I have no one else signed up to speak in this public hearing, so I will close the public hearing. And I think at this point on the budget process, we'll just move on to our next item, correct? There's no action required?
That is correct.
That takes us to item 8, general orders. Item A, presentation of Lake McMurtry Friends Strategic Plan. Mr. McNichol.
Jill Van Egman, the Executive Director of Lake McMurtry Friends, will be providing the report. We're glad to have you here. It's your first time in front of us.
Welcome.
It is, and thank you so much for the opportunity to be here and present on behalf of Lake McMurtry and to share with you our plan for achieving financial sustainability. So I'll just share a little bit about myself. I'm Jill Van Egman, the Executive Director. Today is my 8-week anniversary in this role, so I am brand new to Lake McMurtry and the City of Stillwater. But previously, I served as the Executive Director of the Oklahoma City Dodgers Baseball Foundation and currently serve on the Board of Directors for the Oklahoma City Dodgers Baseball Foundation. I bring with me 20 years of experience as a nonprofit executive and fundraiser. I have specialties in major gift fundraising, in corporate and foundation relations, in grant writing, in capital campaigns, and in special events. I received my fundraising certification from the Institute for Charitable Giving and studied under Gerald Panis, who is one of the most recognized fundraisers in the world. And last year I raised $1.5 million in charitable contributions and look forward to bringing that same kind of success here to Lake McMurtry.
We're excited to have you.
Even more exciting.
Lake McMurtry Friends is a 501c3 with a mission to enhance, promote, and operate the natural resource and recreation area in a sustainable manner while providing a high-quality outdoor experience for the benefit of the public. Last year, in 2017-2018, we saw 584 annual pass sales and 8,363 day pass sales per vehicle. We saw 1,025 RV and tent campers, 51 special events taking place in our pavilion rentals, and over 23,000 total visits to the park, representing 39 states and 136 different Oklahoma cities in 1 year. So this shows us that Lake McMurtry is being talked about outside of the city of Stillwater and surrounding communities. And it's generating revenue for the city of Stillwater because our out-of-town guests eat in Stillwater restaurants and shop in Stillwater stores. So we find this to be a very exciting demographic. Lake McMurtry was founded in 2012 to operate and maintain Lake McMurtry Friends was founded in 2012 to operate and maintain the lake. In 2012, our first year of operating, we sold 2,747 day passes compared to 8,363 in this past year. So we've seen steady growth consistently since we took over operating the lake. In our first year, we sold 200 annual passes compared to 584 annual passes sold last year, mostly through growing park visitorship and renewals. We have a lot of people that renew their annual memberships 2, 3, 4, 5 times. Once people come out to Lake McMurtry, they're hooked. They love it, and they keep coming back. We're very grateful for the Lake McMurtry Friends City of Stillwater operating partnership. Over the past 7 years, we've seen significant growth in our revenue each year. The first 5 years, the City of Stillwater provided us with $250,000 annually. In the 6th year, it dropped to $200,000, and this year it's $180,000. But these funds that you provide to us have helped us to be able to focus on our revenue generation and continue to grow at a steady pace year after year. And we're confident that that is going to continue to be the trend as we move forward. One of the unique things about Lake McMurtry Friends, compared to some other Stillwater private-public partnerships, I always trip up on that, is that we are a 50c3, which provides us with an opportunity to give donors a chance to make charitable contributions, to generate revenue, and to continue to invest in the park for the long term. This is something that's never been utilized by Lake McMurtry Friends, and this is something that we are changing. We've built a long-term strategic fundraising plan that will help us achieve financial sustainability and independence. We'll be focusing on individuals through major gifts, direct mail, and peer-to-peer fundraising. We'll focus on corporations for sponsorships. We'll approach foundations and federal and state entities that offer grants for our mission. We will host special events to generate awareness and broaden our donor base. We will launch capital campaigns to be able to address our capital improvements that are needed to enhance the park experience for our guests. And we will also continue to focus on growing our sales fees and rentals. Goals of Lake McMurtry Friends are to achieve financial independence and lease the lake from the City of Stillwater. We are confident by adding these fundraising goals and our fundraising plan that we'll be able to achieve these, but they are predicated on developing a long-term donor cultivation and fundraising plan and being able to steward our donors by assuring them that Lake McMurtry Friends will continue to operate the lake and maintain the lake for years to come while providing annual reports to the City of Stillwater. Our best case scenario is that we achieve financial sustainability in year 3 with annual renegotiations. Our worst case scenario is to achieve financial sustainability in year 7 with annual renegotiations. One of the things that we've identified as we move towards financial independence are capital improvements that will be a priority. These are not necessarily in order, but we feel that it will enhance the experience of our park guests and also provide our donors with things that are very tangible for them to invest in. Our roads, our bathrooms, our east and west offices. We need to address our shoreline erosion. We need to update and maintain our floating docks. We need to make our swim beach more accessible. We need to rebuild the fish house that has been there, I think, since the very beginning, but we have a lot of fishermen that actually come out and utilize that during the winter so that they're protected from the elements, but they're still out on the water. We would like to build a nature center so that it impacts the entire community, and it also gives us an opportunity to expand our adventure camp programs and have all-day programs because we'll have an air-conditioned facility for our students to be able to be inside. New pavilions, a West Side playground. Last year, we had one of our regular park visitors donate funds to build a playground on the east side in memory of his wife. We would like to build a playground on the west side as well. We would like to incorporate adaptive trails. We have some wonderful property out that would be perfect to have adaptive trails. And we'd like to add additional RV sites. We feel like by addressing all of these improvements, by launching a strategic fundraising plan, and by providing our park constituents with knowledge that we are actually a 501c3 and they can make charitable contributions to us, that we'll be able to achieve financial sustainability and independence. I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right. Councilors?
I think you answered. I have the list of questions, and you answered every one.
Oh, well, excellent.
Yeah.
Good
Thank you.
presentation right there.
Yes.
Thank you.
What has been your most successful program at Lake McMurtry?
At Lake McMurtry, I would say in our first year, our adventure camp took off just incredibly well, and word is spread. And within 4 days of opening registration last week, we already have, I think we have 20 people that have registered. And we only opened it up on social media, so we haven't even started our advertising campaign yet. I think that will be one of our most successful programs to date. But I think in the summertime, our kayak rentals, after we've added additional kayaks and our stand-up paddleboards, that is something that is incredibly popular, and we have people asking already, when are you going to open up the kayaks? When can we get out on the water? So I can see us continuing to add more kayaks to our facilities.
Great.
What do you see as the biggest struggle right now for the Friends, and maybe one of the areas where the city can be of assistance?
You know, I think a lot of it is really getting the word out, helping us to identify channels where we can share with people about Lake McMurtry and what it has to offer. I've asked a lot of people before taking this role if they had ever heard of Lake McMurtry, and they hadn't. Or if they had, they talked about things that had happened 12, 13, 14 years ago before Lake McMurtry Friends took over. And so it had left a bad taste in their mouth. I think by helping us get the word out that Lake McMurtry Friends is, it's not the same Lake McMurtry that was there 10 years ago. Once we took it over, I mean, it's cleaned up, it's beautiful, it's family friendly. For $6, you can come out, and there's no limit to the things that you can do. You can have an entire day out with your family on the lake. It's, I think really it's just spreading the word, generating awareness, and letting people know that we're there, and that we are a 501c3 and not part of Parks and Recreation.
Well, thank you very much for the report. It's very helpful to see the numbers. I'm obviously very pleased to see that usage continues to go up and your ability to sell those passes continues to go up. I know every time I'm out there, it's I always think, why am I not out here more? So I think a lot of people feel that way.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, that takes us to item 9, resolutions. Resolution number CC-19-5, a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter an agreement with the Oklahoma Tax Commission for the collection of City of Stillwater municipal lodging taxes. Mr. Dorman?
The resolution itself is pretty much self-explanatory. The plan is on July 1 for OTC to take over collection of the room tax. Currently, that is the only tax that the city collects directly. This will require also that you make some adjustments to the city ordinances related to the collection of tax, which is the next item coming up on the agenda. But assuming this happens, we would join 5 other cities: Atoka, Grove, Durant, Drumright, and Stroud. OTC is presently collecting room tax for those cities. Chandler will be starting on July 1 as well. So. But OTC would pick this up, and they would also collect this in conjunction with the sales tax that they already collect from the hotels. So seems like a logical move, and so we would recommend that you approve this resolution.
We feel like this will increase the efficacy of our collections effort?
Actually, our collections effort has been very successful. We are current on everyone except one hotel, and that hotel is in a foreclosure. We are current on all liens. I think that the finance department has done a spectacular job of keeping these collections current. So it's not really the currency issue. It's just more of a convenience thing. And I think perception on perhaps on the part of a few people that maybe OTC can do a better job.
Okay, does it free up time on finance staff that we can devote other places? Is that something that we're going to see from this as well?
Oh, yes, there was no question this will free up time.
There's a
And we
big
will
head
still be,
chance.
and the city will still have the responsibility of collecting everything up until July 1, and any delinquencies prior to that date would still remain with the city. OTC will not do that. But, you know, I think this is the trend, and I think you will see more cities get in, particularly as you start collecting things like room tax on bed and breakfasts and you know, non-traditional hotels, things like that. So it's probably time to go ahead and do this.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Dorman. Councilors, questions or comments, motions?
And toward the end of the report, maybe on the next thing, it talks about the a potential collection assistance fee that the state would.
Yes, ma'am.
And that would be taken out of 1% that we would save anyway.
Yes, ma'am. Right now, under the code, the city can take 1% for collection of the tax. It's my understanding that OTC's collection is actually 1/2 cent or 1/2%. So they would take half of what the city is entitled to retain under the current code. So we're not changing any of that other than to authorize them to be paid.
There's a lot more efficiency.
There's people that believe that. I will tell you that I think that our finance department does a very good job. But in terms of if they're already collecting the sales tax, it makes sense that they collect this as well.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that we're going to collect more or better or faster necessarily, but if it allows our finance staff to free up to do other things, and this is just a more efficient way to do it, it certainly makes sense. And if we're not concerned about losing that 0.5%, I mean, I guess if we're not paying for the administration of the tax, then that 0.5% is not going to be particularly problematic from our standpoint.
Well, you have one more staff member able to do something else. So, I do think there is an efficiency that could be gained here.
And we don't suspect that remittance back to the city from OTC is going to cause a big lag in monies back to the hotel tax funds here at the city?
No, it'll turn over at the same rate that the sales tax does right now.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, councilors, anything further?
No.
Is there a motion?
Motion to adopt resolution number CC-19-5.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt resolution CC-19-5. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, the resolution is approved. It takes us to item 10, ordinances on first reading. Ordinance number 3434. An ordinance related to the City of Stillwater hotel room tax, amending Chapter 39 of the Stillwater City Code titled Taxation, Article 4, Hotel Room Tax, Section 39-271, Definitions, deleting in its entirety Section 39-276, Discount, and replacing with Section 39-276, Exemptions, amending Section 39-278, Returns, Section 39-287, Administration, and Section 39-289, Records Confidential, and providing for severability. This is the resolution or the ordinance that Mr. Dorman was just speaking about to make the changes necessary to have the collection done by OTC.
Yes, I would make a couple of points. One is this is the first part of two parts to actually make it possible for you to collect room tax from Airbnb and other similar uses. There is a companion item that will go before the Planning Commission in early May, and it actually authorizes zoning changes that will authorize the use of residential properties for the purpose of short-term rentals. Currently, our code does not allow that. But obviously, we have to get this tax ordinance out ahead of it because OTC has to have it in place to meet their 75-day window to start the tax collection process on July 1. I would tell you that mostly this is administrative, but there are a couple of notable changes. The definition of hotel shrinks the number of rooms from 5 to 1. So if you have one or more rooms that you are using for that purpose, then you would fall under this room tax provision and would be required to get a permit to operate such. The second thing is on 39-276 on exemptions. The exemptions will line up with the exemptions for sales tax. So there are certain types of exemptions that may no longer be available depending upon what the sales tax code says. And so I don't know that that is a huge change, but it's something that the vendors will probably be educated on by OTC when they take over. There will be an education process once the OTC takes this process over. In fact, it will come in front of the effective date of the OTC administration of the sales tax collection. The rest of it basically just authorizes the OTC to do the collections, including the provision that the Vice Mayor mentioned about payment to OTC and coming out of the 1% that the city is presently authorized to withhold.
Okay, so we're talking about authorizing OTC to make collections. We're also talking about the first step towards collecting hotel tax on non-traditional hotel rooms.
Yes.
Airbnbs, vacation rentals, folks where people are renting them out themselves, which currently we're not collecting hotel tax on those transactions.
Right. To my knowledge, there aren't any. I think Paula did some research on the number that are operating. I think the number right now is somewhere in the neighborhood of 40. She will have a more comprehensive review of that when she comes back with the information for the zoning piece of this.
Okay. Councilors, questions or comments or motions?
Motion to advance ordinance 3434 to second reading.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to advance the ordinance to second reading. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, ordinance 3434 is advanced to second reading. Is that Mathis Brothers? Is that what that is? 3434?
West Reno.
You got it.
As soon as I said that, I thought
Rolls off the tongue.
Maybe that's just me. All right. Ordinances on second reading. Item A, ordinance number 3367, an ordinance amending the Stillwater City Code by amending Chapter 6, Animals, to create Article 5, Backyard Chickens, Section 6-81, Definitions, Section 6-82, Keeping of Backyard Chickens Permitted, Requirements, and Section 6-83, Violation, providing for repealer and severability. Councilors.
Motion to adopt ordinance number 3367.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt the ordinance. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, ordinance number 3367 is adopted. On second reading, item B, ordinance 3433, an ordinance amending Chapter 18 of the Stillwater City Code titled Environment, Article 6, Dilapidated Buildings, by revising Section 18-152, Definitions, providing for severability, and declaring an emergency. Is there a motion on the ordinance?
Motion to adopt ordinance 3433.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt the ordinance. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, ordinance number 3433 is adopted. Is there now a motion on the emergency clause?
Motion to adopt the emergency clause.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt an emergency clause to ordinance 3433. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, that emergency is declared. Takes us to item 11, reports from officers and boards. Mr. Dorman.
Nothing to report tonight, sir.
Thank you. Mr. McNichol.
Two items, Mayor. One, I would like to remind our audience that there will be a study session next week, and we're going to talk about all things transportation. Woo-hoo. And why it takes so long to get a road fixed, how much money we spend, when we spend it. I've already seen some preview of that presentation, and It will be exciting.
I would encourage anyone in the city of Stillwater who is interested in the condition of our roads, which there seem to be a few, including myself, to be here next week to help us have that discussion about road maintenance.
Right, thank you. And
All things transportation, not just
yes, all
roads.
kinds.
We have-
Pedestrians, bicycles, scooters,
Right.
cars, trucks. Exactly. And the next item, I'm going to embarrass one of our department managers sitting out in the audience. Chris Knight, our waste management director, safety manager, has been appointed to the Keep Oklahoma Beautiful Board of Directors. And that is not the only board that he sits on. He sits on several. Chris is very active in waste management and safety, and he'll begin his 3-year term in July. The board meets every other month and helps guide a program that targets grassroots efforts of Oklahomans involved with community and environmental improvement. So congratulations to Chris.
Congratulations.
All right, Councilor Zanotti.
Yes, the 13th Annual Oklahoma Water Appreciation Day will take place this Wednesday, April 17th. This day recognizes the importance of providing clean and accessible water to Oklahomans. Proper care and management of water is vital to Oklahoma's agricultural production, municipal development, business and industry, tourism, and outdoor recreation, and more.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Darlington.
Yes, we have 4 new employees to welcome to the Stillwater team. Josh Brown is a planning technician, Kevin Austin, meter reader, Melody Herndon, legal contracts administrator, and Angela David, customer service representative.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Councilor Wedlake.
Thank you, sir. This past week, if you haven't noticed, our electric utility team helped install the new wind turbine at Block 34 in downtown Stillwater, which represents part of Phase 1 of this project. We want to thank especially the following team members for your work on the project. Bart Town, Casey Lumpkin, Michael McNamara, John Johnson, and Travis Oakes. Thank you specifically for your work on that project.
Absolutely. Thank you. Councilor Jaloski.
I'm going to try not to echo through the room. Here's a quick update on the tax collections apportioned to the city of Stillwater last month. The city collected $2,100,915 in sales tax for March 2019, which is below projections by 9.41%. The city's use tax collections for March 2019 was $183,493. This is above projections by 62.43%. Read the full tax update on the city's website under News.
Thank you. That's not great news.
It's not.
We appreciate you reporting it anyway. I have 2 items as well. One, I have a question about that maybe Patty can answer before the Kamioka ceremony? Yes. I have it down as Thursday. Thursday. Okay. This says Friday, but I was just making sure. Thursday at 2. Yes, it is. We're celebrating the 22nd anniversary of the installation of the International Friendship Garden at the Stillwater Community Center this Thursday. It's at 2 p.m. at the Community Center. Please help us celebrate and welcome guests and friends from Kamioka, Japan, who will be here to help us celebrate that anniversary, and from the Sister Cities Council. So please come help us celebrate that anniversary on Thursday at 2 p.m. Norm, yes, ma'am.
It is on Friday.
Are you sure?
Yes, I just checked the calendar.
I checked the email, though,
Oh, you did?
that I got from Stephanie, and it says Thursday.
I have Friday also.
I have Friday. I tell you what.
Okay.
Email sent to everybody Friday.
Well, everybody knows.
Okay. We're going to say Friday. I think the consensus is Friday. Is that where we are? All right. Thursday or Friday, there will be a celebration of the community garden. One other item I just wanted to note, I had the opportunity this afternoon to read a proclamation at the celebration of the 15th anniversary of the NOC OSU Gateway program between Oklahoma State and Northern Oklahoma College. It's a great program that they run there. It's also a huge benefit to the city of Stillwater to have those students in town, those who come in that maybe haven't made it quite to OSU yet, but they're here in Stillwater at NOC. So we appreciate the work that those entities have done in that program over the last 15 years.
Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
I have confirmed with Stephanie, it is Friday.
It is Friday at 2 p.m. Thank you. All right, that takes us, I think, to the end. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn the Stillwater City Council meeting. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, the Stillwater City Council meeting is adjourned. At this time, I will call to order the April 15, 2019 meeting of the Stillwater Economic Development Authority. And I will ask for comments, questions, or motions on the consent docket.
Motion to approve the consent docket.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to, you know what? I'm out of order again.
It's okay.
We'll go ahead and do that. All right, so we have a motion and a second to approve the consent docket. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, the consent docket is approved. I am going to, not recess, what's the word I want to use? I'm going to move over to Stillwater Utilities Authority because all we've got on
Yeah, you can
SEDA
recess,
is the
you can
executive
recess
session.
and go to SUA.
All right, let's recess the SEDA meeting and go where I should have gone first, which is the Stillwater Utilities Authority meeting. I will call the meeting of the SUA for April 15, 2019 to order, and I will ask about this consent docket. Questions, comments, or motions?
Motion to approve the consent docket.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent docket. Please vote. Sorry, I'm jumping all over the place on you, Liz. With a vote of 5-0, that consent docket is approved. That takes us down to general orders. Item A, consider deferring the automatic water and wastewater rate escalator beginning July 1, 2019 until completion of the utility cost of service rate study, SUA-19-12. Mr. McNichol.
Finance Director Christy Klepp will be providing that report.
Hello.
So staff is seeking trustee authorization to defer that automatic water and wastewater rate escalator. This rate escalator was adopted with the passage of a resolution in July of 2015, and it states, this resolution states that in the absence of trustee action, the water and wastewater rates will be increased each July 1st in an amount up to 3% or the percentage change in the South Urban Region Consumer Price Index, whichever of those is less. In October of 2018, the trustees took action to defer the electric rate escalator, and that is pending the completion of this cost of service study. This cost of service study is moving along. Staff is in the process of selecting a consultant to do that study, and we do anticipate that study being complete by the end of the calendar year. And so it is the recommendation that, just as we did with the electric rate escalator, that we do the same with water and wastewater automatic rate escalator and defer that effective July 1st of 2019 and until the cost of service study is complete and can be reviewed.
Thank you, Christy.
Yes.
Trustees? Questions, comments, or I suppose motions?
Motion to adopt the
Staff recommendation.
staff recommendation to defer the automatic water and wastewater rate escalator.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to accept the staff recommendation. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, that item is approved. All right, that takes us to reports from officers and boards. Mr. Dorman?
Nothing to report, sir.
Mr. McNichol?
No items, sir.
Trustees?
No.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to adjourn the SUA meeting. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, SUA is now adjourned. This time, I will reconvene the Stillwater Economic Development Authority meeting at item 5, reports from officers and boards. Mr. Dorman.
Request an executive session pursuant to 25 OS subsection 307C11 for the purpose of conferring on matters pertaining to economic development, including the transfer of property, financing, or the creation of a proposal to entice a business to locate within the city of Stillwater because public disclosure of the matter to be discussed would interfere with the development of products and services and would violate the confidentiality of the business.
Thank you, Mr. Dorman. Mr. McNichol. Any items from you?
No items, sir. Thank you.
Trustees?
No.
Is there a motion to enter executive session?
Motion to enter executive session.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to enter executive session. Please vote. We vote 5-0. Stillwater Economic Development Authority will now enter executive session. Thank you all for being here.
Sometimes it's very simple as just a road closure. Maybe it's a parking closure. Maybe it's a cul-de-sac for a neighborhood party. So we do all kinds of things, but it may not necessarily need the full process.
When parking in a timed parking space around Stillwater, you may notice a chalk mark on your tire. Parking enforcement uses the chalk marks